Hello, thank you for joining us. This session is about ringing recruitment and retention. My name is Vicky Chapman. I'm the Central Council of Church Bell Ringers Public Relations Officer. This presentation is brought to you using resources available from the Association of Ringing Teachers, or ART, and the Volunteer and Leadership Workgroup of the Central Council. I'll be going through the 10-point plan that will help you build your toolkit for a successful recruitment and retention campaign. We'll be covering raising awareness, what do you want to achieve, who to recruit, what are you going to do, how to make the best of publicity, holding a successful event, the all-important follow-up, intensive training, how to keep your new ringers interested, and how to make recruitment work for everyone in your band. At the end of this presentation, there'll be some further resources for you. So what's the situation in your current tower or in your area? Is it recruitment or retention that's the problem? Recent recruits can often be your best resource in recruiting and supporting new ringers. They're still fresh and enthusiastic and still relate terms that non-ringers would understand. Here's some quotes from new recruits at Lilleshall in Shropshire. We all know that bell ringing is a fabulous hobby, but we need to find a way to pass on our enjoyment to others. It's not just ringing that has its challenges with recruitment and retention. This cartoon from the Church Times shows that other church groups are facing similar issues. Times have changed. The traditional ways of recruiting new ringers may no longer work. New recruits won't necessarily come to you. You need to be active and go out and get them. The success of the Ringing Remembers campaign demonstrates what can be achieved. Knowing what has worked for others will help you focus your efforts on effective recruitment methods and spend less time on those that don't. Traditional routes into ringing, such as the church and family, are being replaced by friends and larger-scale recruitment drives, including Tower Open Days. Of course, all advice is subject to the usual health warning, and that every band and community is different, with different links, different needs, and different aspirations. At the 2017 ART conference, a selection of ringing teachers, who were mainly recruited in the 1960s and 70s, were asked what got them into the tower to learn to ring. An online poll of learning the ropes ringers, who were mainly recruited during the last 5 years, was asked exactly the same thing. What we're seeing here is a shift away from recruitment through the church and family towards larger scale recruitment events and general appeals for new ringers. Planning is essential. You need to work out what you want to achieve and what you're going to do. And do you have the teaching competence and capacity to cope? It's important to consider recruitment and retention as a whole package. Dwight Eisenhower said, "Planning is everything, the plan is nothing." And plans should be a living document. There are no magic answers. What works well for some towers doesn't work for others, and there are plenty of examples out there of what has worked. There is a greater chance of success if people have an understanding about what bell ringing is about. We need to make sure that it's part of the local community and seen as a fun hobby to get into. If you get this right, then chances are you'll get a continuous influx of new recruits. Events and recruitment drives will have a much greater chance of success if there is basic awareness of ringing and ringers in the area, in both the community and the church, and that ringing is recognised as one of the normal activities in the locality. Make sure that people see you enjoying your hobby. Post some smiley, happy pictures on social media. Create a band that supports learning and welcomes those keen to learn a new skill. Make yourselves easy to find. Ensure your contact details and practice times are correct, online and in print, and this includes your branch and guild associations and doves. Ring your bells open as often as possible so that people know that you are there. Ensure ringers are known and appreciated in the community. Take part in local events as a bell ringing group. Ring for public events and publicise it beforehand and afterwards. Here, this is what we're doing. Look, this is what we did. Give a talk to local interest groups and follow up with a taster session. Write some articles for community and church magazines and newspapers and celebrate your success. Get support from clergy, church wardens and parishioners. Invite them to social events. Give them a taster day and give them access to your publicity material so they can spread the word for you. Raise your online presence. Build your online social media. Connect and contribute to social media sites of others using hashtags and links to their sites. Maintain an interesting tower website and link to other websites. Add yourself to local activity and event-based websites that share local interests. Let people know why you're ringing for special events. Have a board outside the tower. Put postcards through doors. Let the local press and social media outlets know. By getting the basics right, you're making sure your contact details and ringing times are correct on websites and on Dove and with the church. Start by deciding what you want to achieve rather than what you are going to do. Have an honest look at the band's needs and aspirations and what skills and people you have to realise them. How many recruits do you want? Do you want a low-level steady flow of new recruits, or do you need an injection of new recruits? Or are you trying to start a new band from scratch? What are the aspirations and the values of your band? Are you interested mainly in keeping the bells ringing on a Sunday? Are you looking for ringers who can extend your method ringing repertoire? Will the band welcome new ringers or resent the time that it takes to train them? Do you have the skills and people to transform new recruits into fully developed ringers? Do you need to organise some teacher training? Do you need to ask for some help from adjacent towers, your district or association officers, or get some resources from ART or the Central Council? Knowing what you want to achieve, now think about who you'd like to recruit and how you might appeal to them. Think, why would they be interested in learning to ring with your band? There are several sources of potential recruits, from local community groups or individuals, church groups and congregations, friends and families, school children, university students, retirees, established professionals, the Scouts and Guides movement, the Boys and Girls Brigades, those on the Duke of Edinburgh's award scheme, and lots of other local interest groups. What's the best way to engage with them? If you've raised the local profile of ringing in your community, as discussed earlier, the better the chances of getting people to come to an event. What activities can you organise for reaching and convincing your target recruits to want to come and learn to ring? There is a tendency to organise tower open days, but there are many other ways of connecting with people. Have you considered offering an experience day or a gift voucher for someone to learn to ring? These could be given as auction prizes for local fundraisers or sold as gifts for special occasions. Could you do a talk as part of a church service or a local interest group? Give a specific invitation to come and have a go at the end of the talk. For a steady flow of new recruits, personal contact is great, but use posters, leaflets, social media, websites, online hobbies listings, magazine articles, church notices, take part in church services, or have a ringers service or an event after a service. Offer experience days and gift vouchers. And if you're looking for an injection of new recruits or to build a band from scratch, share it with a church service, have a tower open day, and maybe hire a mini ring. Publicity needs to be proactive. Word of mouth is really great. Stress the positives of health and well-being aspects of learning to ring. Embrace new technology, or find someone who will. Be specific in your message. You may have a tower open day just for public interest, but if you also wish to recruit new ringers, make sure you say so in your publicity literature. Use the right medium. If you're recruiting school children, you need to talk to the parents. Children are often keen to try something new, but when they ask their parents if they can come, parents are usually suspicious of religion, expense, time commitments, and may say no. Have a clear call to action. If you're giving a talk to the University of the Third Age, end that talk by offering a taster session on a specific date. Give out leaflets and collect contact details of those coming. The invite is what turns interest into action. Think about your communication channels, personal contact invitations, websites, social media, press, local newspapers and radio, posters, leaflets, displays, talks. Holding a successful event is all in the planning. Whatever form your event takes, check your plans out with a non-ringer if you can and see what they think. Find out what has worked for others so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Be professional and be welcoming. Use your existing ringers to their best effect. Some people will be more suited to meeting and greeting, and some would prefer to stay in the background, making refreshments or demonstrating ringing. Ensure you have fulfilled all the necessary safeguarding and health and safety requirements. Make sure someone is collecting names and contact information of anyone interested, but make sure you can read their writing. Things you might need to consider would be the date. Make sure you've agreed it with the church and your helpers. Make sure your venue is clean, tidy and welcoming. Make sure you've included any safeguarding and health and safety requirements, and you might need to get your PCC to agree for insurance or do a risk assessment. Have some display boards with information and leaflets and booklets on bell ringing. Have some refreshments. Everyone likes cake, yeah? Maybe have some talks and demonstrations, including handbell ringing. Have some props handy, some history, some hardware, some photographs. Post-event publicity, including photos, are great to share on social media and in the press. Have something they can take away, a leaflet or a sticker. Kids love stickers, don't they? That all important to follow up. The important thing now is to keep the momentum going. Contact anyone interested in learning to ring as soon as you can after they've expressed an interest and arrange something concrete, like a no-obligation taster session or their first lesson. People lose interest if you leave it too long. They think you're not really interested in them. Be personal, be quick. Make sure you contact everyone, arrange that taster session, or arrange a date for a first lesson. Research clearly demonstrates that intensive training leads to faster learning. More of what has been learned is retained between sessions, and ringers maintain enthusiasm as they feel they're progressing. These days, new recruits often expect courses and a defined, structured way of learning to ring. This is comparable to other hobbies such as music grades or karate belts. Intensive training needs to be frequent and concentrated. You need to plan for about 10 to 15 hours of one-to-one training over a few days and weeks, but don't drag it out over months. You might need to think about silencing your bells or using sound control, and decide whether to charge for your training. Make sure you have permission to ring forms and that safeguarding for all new recruits is in place, and you capture any medical conditions that don't generally crop up in conversation. Provide a tour of the bells at the home tower, hopefully, or an alternative. Decide with a new ringer the best times for bell ringing, handling sessions. Get helpers if more than one is being taught. Set dates for the first go of ringing rounds with others on open bells. That's a great motivator. Throughout the phase of learning to handle a bell, the new ringer receives lots of individual attention. Once they join the normal weekly practice, they will receive considerably less. The learning curve will plateau, which may lead to a waning in interest and motivation. Think about how you can provide targeted sessions and give your new ringers as much rope time as possible to keep them progressing. You might need to carry on with tied bell lessons so the handling doesn't deteriorate. Organise a separate early ringers practice, perhaps joint with some other towers. Hold some individual practice sessions using simulators. Provide plenty of activities, games, reading, quizzes and mobile phone apps for your new ringers so that it keeps them busy while they're not actually ringing. Integrate them into the ringing social scene as soon as possible. And group learning keeps ringers motivated. New ringers can change the dynamic of your band. How are you going to integrate new ringers into your tower? You also need to consider the impact on existing ringers and be aware of teacher burnout. What can you do to keep the whole band happy and make recruitment work for everyone? Some of your existing ringers may stop coming, go elsewhere, or their method ringing might decline. Practice nights might become swamped by new ringers from other towers, pushing other people out. How can you ensure that your teachers and your helpers don't start to feel burnt out? If you experience members of the band not getting enough advanced practice or enjoyable ringing, why not arrange a monthly advanced practice by invitation only, or arrange some regular quarter peal attempts, or combine with another tower for special practices on a particular method or aspect of ringing. Split your practices so that the last half hour or so is always reserved for the more advanced ringing. Think about Sunday service ringing, maybe by invitation only, giving opportunities to ring longer touches of methods. Ensure that everyone at the practice gets to ring at least one touch of something they'd like to ring with a steady band. If you're experiencing teacher burnout or practice nights become swamped by ringers from other towers, make sure you have a ringing friend who you can confide in and who can help you solve problems. If you teach in groups, This task can be shared and makes it a lot less burdensome. Collaborate with other towers running combined foundation practices or workshops. And don't neglect your own ringing. Make sure you get the balance right. So, our key messages. Planning is essential, as is high quality teaching. Recruitment and retention go hand in hand, and think longer term. Recruitment and retention is for life, not just for Christmas. Collaborate with colleagues at nearby towers and use your association's resources. Use your new recruits. They're a fabulous resource. They still have enthusiasm for something new. They can more easily relate to what it's like to be the new person, and they're able to bridge the language jargon barrier. There are further resources available, and the links are in the comments below. I hope you found this presentation helpful in thinking about your recruitment and retention program, so thank you for watching. But keep calm and go recruit. Good luck.